from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the program. We are live and national. Happy to be here with you. 7 minutes past the top of the hour. You want to join me in our late night national town hall conversation? Feel free. Give me a call. 833-482-5337. 833-4-Valdes. And man, where do we start? There's so many things going on in America. It looks like we're headed towards peace, right? The Hamas, Gaza, IDF stuff seems to be proceeding pretty well. I'm happy about that. Meanwhile, it looks like we're headed towards some sort of civil breakdown here in the United States. Ugly stuff going on in Oregon. And again, we've seen Oregon rear its ugly heads many times in Portland. We're also seeing Chicago pushing back. Right? Video after video, news report after news report comes out of citizens, many of them black, just for the sake of, understanding my point. People that are in the tough neighborhoods saying, hey, we are so happy that President Trump is sending federal troops here and federal law enforcement because it's not safe, just like we saw with D.C. Yet, who do you have chiming in? Not just the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, who many of us thought of Beetlejuice, right? Remember her, Lori Lightfoot, that if she were gone, that things would get better. No, they didn't get better. They got worse with Brandon Johnson. He's literally to the left of her. And Governor J.B. Pritzker, El Gordito, he's chiming in as well. Everybody is upset with what's going on with President Trump trying to enforce what is right. Listen to Mayor Brandon Johnson, cut 12. Check this out.
The extreme right in this country refuse to accept the results of the Civil War. They have repeatedly called for a rematch. But in the coming weeks, we will use this opportunity to build greater resistance. Chicagoans are clear. Militarizing our troops in our city as justification to further escalate a war in Chicago will not be tolerated.
So, this is, again, I don't even know how to address this other than they're going to lose. They're going to lose not just the war. This is going to be a legal battle. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to say you can't just nullify federal law, punto final, period, the end, and that's it. Now, Governor J.B. Pritzker, of course, doubling down on that as well. I'll give you some audio on him a little bit later. But again, this is, it's dangerous, in my opinion, that we continue to not criticize but demonize political opponents, right? And that's why I'm not trying to demonize these guys. And if I am, feel free to call and let me know. I think these guys are lacking in the brains department. I think that they're doing the wrong thing by the people. They're doing the wrong thing by the country. They're doing the wrong thing, period. But at the end of the day, I just say, hey, let's get rid of them. Let's get better people. Let's have more people run for office. This is a movement that's going to take time, right? Because we have a system where people can run for office. Now, what we don't do is just steamroll people, right? We don't just call for their death like the candidate for Attorney General in Virginia. His name, Jay Jones. Man, what a wacko. This guy sends a text message a while back about a fellow legislator. He's in the State House in Virginia saying we should shoot them along with Pol Pot and some other dictator. And 2 shots should go to his the person he was, criticizing, calling for that person's death. And fascinating to me is the whole point behind what he's trying to say. Right? He says that the person that he's texting says, "Are you saying that we should kill this person?" And he says, "Yes, that's the only time when they have a personal loss." And he doubles down, like, "You mean and their kids?" And sadly, sadly, he says, yes, that's the only way they'll ever understand is when they have this personal pain. And I have to say to myself, man, this is weird and wild stuff, right? A little Johnny Carson reference there, but I mean, it's horrible to think that this is how Democrats think. And I'm going to say this for everybody that says, yeah, but it's the rhetoric on both sides. Can you please start just sending me the examples of Republican after Republican, day in, day out, for the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years? Find me these Republicans that are calling for the death of their political opponents. Find them for me. You've even got the media running cover for this, saying, look, it's not really a good thing. It's not really ideal, but it was a private conversation, though. So as long as you don't say it publicly, you're okay. But the minute that you say it privately, then, well, all bets are off. Now, listen, the last election, or the one prior to it, I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it was the last election. No, either way, where the current governor ran, they made similar errors, the Democrats, saying things like parents don't know what's good for their kids. And that backfired. It's my hope that this will backfire again, and that we, the people, will make the right decision and not decide, you know what, we're going to just look the other way on this guy's calls for death of a politician and his children. Because this is becoming all too common on the left. And the fact that it's happened leads me to believe that it's likely going to happen again. And this is why, I applaud President Trump for all the work that he's doing. I really applaud President Trump for fighting this fairly, right? They want to call him a fascist. They want to call him a dictator. They want to call him all sorts of things. But the one thing they really can't do it in honesty. In all honesty, he's incredibly fair. He's been incredibly generous, more than most. Right? He's really given the system. You know why? Because President Trump really believes in the system. He actually is a peaceful guy. He really does believe in getting along. You can take him at his word, and you can take him at his action. I look at how he moves, and I got to say, he does the right thing. He does the right thing. And I'm happy about it. I'm thrilled that we have a president that's leaving an example and a legacy for us to say, you know what, when Antifa's acting up, he sends the federal police to do what they have to do to support the local police. What do the local police do? Right? What does the governor in Oregon and the rest of these wacky left-wing mayors, what do? They tell the police to stand down. I saw this video. There's a white pickup truck. There are, I think it's Border Patrol or ICE agents inside. It gets rear-ended. No, actually, no. I think it was this woman that was, I'm going to presume Antifa. She's wearing all black. She's young and she's armed. And she starts hitting the cop with her car. So another black SUV, similar to the one that she's driving, which is more ICE officers, they come on the scene, and then this woman is shot. And finally, the threat against the cops is neutralized. She's alive, but this whole thing goes down, and the Chicago police are called or whatever, or was that in Oregon? I might be getting them confused. Either way, something goes down, and they tell them, no, we're not sending the cops. Excuse me, the Oregon police. Don't respond. And then, I don't know what I'm reading. I'm reading two different stories at the same time. Forgive me. You've got the Oregon people going crazy over there, and then you've got the Chicago police telling them not to respond. That's insane. I didn't even know that there were cops that would follow orders like that. Honestly, right? If you get a call for some people, but I guess some people are really, that thin blue line is getting thinner and thinner where they don't stick together. And I'll tell you, I grew up with two older brothers that were cops, NYPD, and then my brother became a Fed after his 20 years of service, my older brother. And I can tell you, these guys were always good guys, good cops. They looked out for the people they had to look out for. They made sure that, if they saw somebody, they didn't have to know you. But if they saw something going down, they kept their eyes open, and they were available in case somebody needed backup, because they stood by one another. I got to tell you, it's very disheartening to see that you've got cops being called, and then they say, no, chief of patrol. The chief of patrol says not to respond. That's all. They released that 9/11 911 audio. Anyway, really, it's got me beside myself. So you look at all of those things and you say, man, this is crazy. Anyway, just a little something to chew on. We're going to get into a lot of things tonight. One of those things is this Antifa stuff. What is going on with Antifa? If you've spent any amount of time on Twitter, there's a journalist named Nick Sorter, and he gets retweeted by everybody. I mean, he always gets tons of retweets, puts out a lot of really good information, and he's out there, and he gets attacked by Antifa, and then the cops locked him up, saying that he was instigating stuff. Now, they did this because they know who he is. It's them trying to go after their political opponents. And he did an interview, and he says, I think they should change the name of Antifa to Transtifa because of how many trans individuals make up Antifa. Now, if that's true, I want to know, what is going on with Antifa? And why are there so many trans individuals there? So to do that, I'm enlisting the support of a former Antifa activist who saw the light and was able to get away, and he's going to join us straight ahead. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
That's Caroline Leavitt at the White House. Press briefing earlier today discussing the situation in Portland, Oregon with Caitlin Collins. And I want to get some reaction to what's going on in Portland, Oregon, and find out more about Antifa and what some are calling Transtifa from our guest. Our guest is Gabriel Nadales. He's been with us before. He's a former Antifa activist, and now he's a national director at an organization called Our America. Gabriel, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
You bet. So let's get your reaction here to what's going on in Portland, Oregon.
Well, unfortunately, it's sad to say, but it seems to be more of the same. You have many Antifa activists, many members of Antifa, particularly Rose City Antifa in Portland, that are committing chaos, or committing a lot of destruction of property. And unfortunately, many people on the left are refusing to call it out for what it is. It is domestic terrorism.
What's the, I guess, this is there an end game, or is it just to be the squeaky wheel trying to get some oil, or is there more to it, like you're actually trying to, recruit people towards terrorizing federal facilities like we saw in the 1960s? Because it seems like they're not really getting much done except for making DHS work a lot harder than they need to.
Well, the interesting thing about Antifa is you have to see them not as an organization, but as a movement. And within this movement, you have several different radical left-wing groups. Some of them call themselves Antifa, but a lot of them don't. Rose City Antifa is one of those that do call themselves Antifa. They do embrace that name. And you have to look at specifically what they are kind of about. If you look at some of they actually, some time ago, I think it might have been like 2 or 3 months ago, they were very open. No, several years ago, I can't remember. It was after the 2020 riots. They actually explained the history of Antifa, and specifically, remember on Twitter. I think this is before Elon Musk bought Twitter, so it's still called Twitter. They basically explain the history of Antifa, and that chapter is the longest active chapter in America. They've been around since 2007, and they recruit. They are definitely more on the anarchist side. So their end goal is definitely to be not just to cause chaos for the sake of chaos, but they are actively seeking to promote anarchist ideologies, because they believe that the government, whether it be a Republican or Democrat, is unfit for basically govern anybody.
Now, Gabriel Nadales, you got involved in Antifa. Tell us when you got involved with them.
Sure. I mean, I was involved in the anti-fascist movement long before people really knew that as a household name. I was involved back in 2011. So Antifa really came into prominence in 2017. So we're talking about like 6 years or so before it really became like a household name. But Antifa is a much older organization than that. I mean, the Rose City Antifa is the oldest chapter that is like continuously. But before then, they used to call themselves the Anti-Racist Action. We're going back to the 80s. And that's just the American chapters.
The anti-what?
The Anti-Racist Action. This started over in Minneapolis. In 2007, they started changing their names into the Anti-Fascist Action. But I mean, it's basically the same thing. The Anti-Racist Action chapters and the Antifa. The thing about Antifa, though, they tend to be a little bit more broader than the Anti-Racist Action coalition. The Anti-Racist Action specifically was they were focused solely on anti-racism. Like quote unquote activism. They would still do the same type of demonstrations, but it was only targeted against like white supremacy or like racism in general. But it was in the 2000s when you saw them adopt the broader Antifa kind of moniker in order to expand their reach, not just to like anti-racism, but to anti-capitalism, to corporatism, banks, all these different things, to really encompass everything that they saw, quote unquote, wrong in the world.
And as you see it today, do you think that they're just a bunch of crybabies and trans individuals that are upset with the status quo, or is this truly a threat that we should be very fearful of?
I mean, you all throughout history, you have anarchist groups, and even if they're small, there can still be a threat. Whether they dictate, at the really local level, they're definitely harming people. They're definitely destroying property. I mean, there's journalists out there who are doing nothing but trying to report on the fact these are innocent people. They're not even quote unquote fascists. They're not neo-Nazis, not affiliated with what they consider neo-Nazis or fascists would be like Republicans, Democrats. They're just journalists, and they're very willingly to openly attack them and all these things. So they can definitely be a threat to just very much anyone.
Yeah, well, I want to get a little bit more on that when we come back. Folks, we're on with Gabriel Nadales. He's a former Antifa member who's now a conservative activist, and he represents Our America. Keep it locked right here. We're coming right back. We're going to hear from FBI Director Kash Patel on the Antifa threat. Don't go anywhere.
I'm so glad to be on your show, Rich. It's just an amazing broadcast that I hope the rest of America listens to every day.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Speaking of social media, they're up in arms over George Soros and Open Roads as to whether or not his Open Roads Foundation is supporting terrorist organizations that are anti-America and goes against the better interests of our nation.
So organizations, I can't speak to that directly.
George Soros.
And because I can't comment on whether or not we have an actual investigation, but
okay, that's fair.
Speaking to matters like Antifa, for example, right? And the new EO that the president signed and their designations giving us authorities that we never had. What we are able to do is the one thing I've done my entire career under investigations: follow the money. Serve legal process and follow the money. These groups just don't show up overnight. You don't have hundreds of people surround a courthouse overnight and then move down to LA and cause riots and then move halfway across the country and cause disruptions in Chicago and elsewhere. It is an organized effort that someone or some groups are paying for. And what I can tell the American people is we have open investigations on multiple groups and individuals funding these efforts. We have legal process that has already been executed. The search warrant results are coming in.
That is FBI Director Kash Patel talking about following the money. And this is important, especially for groups like Antifa, because it's hard enough to get your hands around these people because it's such a loose movement at times. But people always wonder, how is it every time people from the Antifa movement show up, there happens to be goggles, a package of goggles somewhere so that they can put them on, or gas masks, or pallets of broken cement that they can use as small boulders that they could launch at the cops. How do those things magically get there? Who's paying for that stuff? I want to bring our guest back in, Gabriel Nadales. He is a former Antifa activist, even wrote a book about it. Now he's the national director of a group called Our America. Gabriel Nadales, what do you think of what FBI Director Kash Patel is talking about here?
Well, I mean, it could be varied because, as you mentioned, Antifa is a very loosely organized movement. You do have local chapters that are very much organized. You have, as I mentioned, Rose City Antifa. That's the oldest one, and they do have membership lists. They do have a lot of that. You have in Austin, you have another one in Sacramento, and in Colorado and Denver. You have some that are very strong chapters that are actually very much there. Now, as far as like funding, I mean, that can vary. I can tell you that nobody paid me. A lot of the people that I knew, nobody was getting paid. You know, we did this out of because, you know, we believe in the cause, if you will. That being said, I can't say that there's no money out there. And there's a lot of times that there's, you know, a lot of suspicious things. As you mentioned, you know, they would just leave bricks like at protests. So that can be very suspicious. One other thing to mention is during the Palestinian riots at the college campuses, Columbia, UCLA, you had people with a lot of different tents, you know, and we have to wonder where's a lot of this money coming from. To a certain extent, it's possible that there are some funding, but that's exactly why it's important. This executive order is so important because it really is a directive for the FBI to start looking at to see if there's any sort of funding. You know, it's an important investigation that we should get to the bottom of.
All right, you're getting a little bit away from the mouthpiece there. Can't hear you too well. But Gabriel, I know you wrote the book about this stuff, and you shared with us last time you were here. But for anybody who's new and didn't get a chance to hear, you know, why you stepped away from Antifa and you know, saw the light, if you will, tell us about the book and tell us, you know, your story.
Of course, yeah. I mean, a lot of people think that it was like an overnight thing, that I saw something and all of a sudden I decided to do nothing with them. And to an extent, that is true, but it was a slow transition more than anything. I remember when I was a kid. I was 17 when I really did all this. And when I started learning about Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell, and I really enjoyed their ideas, but I disagreed with them to the point that I wanted to just talk about them, debate them. So I brought them up to my friends, which are other members of the anti-fascist movement, if you will. And it became very clear that they weren't interested in talking. They were interested in just silencing me. They called me a capitalist pig and, you know, all other things to that effect. And that, you know, I always talk about this. Whenever you tell somebody don't look, well, you're going to want to make them look. They're going to try to get to the bottom of it. So that's exactly what happened with me. They tried being rude about it, to say the least. And I decided, you know what, I need to figure out what's going on here for myself. And I slowly came on this path where I started learning more about liberty-minded principles, you know. And slowly and surely, like before I even realized it, I was definitely more on the right side of the aisle than I ever would have imagined.
Unbelievable. Now your friends think you're a fascist.
Yeah, you know, they don't even know what fascism really is. But yeah.
Right. That's really part of the problem. Gabriel, I know you wrote a book. Tell everybody about the book and where they can get a copy.
Of course, yeah. It's Behind the Black Mask, My Time as an Antifa Activist, and, they can get a copy over on Amazon, easiest way to get one.
Behind the Black Mask by Gabriel Nadales. Gabriel, I want to thank you for being here, brother. I appreciate it. And if there's, any new developments, I'm sure there will be with Antifa, I'll be giving you a call so you can kind of walk us through what's going on.
Of course, thank you. Thank you for having me again.
You bet. I appreciate it. And amigos, your thoughts, your calls, your reactions to everything that's going on straight ahead. Here's the number 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdes.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-Valdes. That's 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdes. That's Valdes with an S. Call now, 833-4-Valdes. That's 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdes. That's Valdes with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. It's Rich Valdes keeping you company tonight. And check out this headline. Antifa terrorist and author and organizer and financier Mark Bray has fled the U.S. to Europe. Mark Bray is an Antifa terrorist, financier, and organizer who's fled to Europe. He's an assistant teaching professor at Rutgers University. Bray previously taught at Dartmouth. He's also one of the organizers of Occupy Wall Street. He insists that his move is based on death threats that he's been receiving and from getting doxxed. Andy No has reported that this is going on X. Now, this is the guy who literally wrote the Antifa handbook. But let me read a little bit of this because it's interesting here. And this is obviously after the United States government announced that Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization, he decided to relocate. And let's see where he put this. He posted on a social media platform called Blue Sky. It's where everybody left when they decided to leave Twitter because Elon Musk had bought it. And it says, "Hi, everyone in terrorism. Unfortunately, my situation has gotten worse recently. This weekend, shortly after some negative media and social media attention, some of which ironically enough accused me of being a terrorist, I received another death threat and a separate threat that included my home address. The university and the authorities have been notified. Since my family and I do not feel safe in our home at the moment, we are moving for the year to Europe. Truly, I am so bummed about not being able to spend time with you guys in the classroom. I enjoyed our conversations. What does this mean for you? There will be, unfortunately, no more in-person sessions this semester. Tomorrow and Thursday will be held over the regular Zoom. The quiz and blah, 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 blah." He goes on to just the logistics of the class. And that's it. And then he complains about having to move his classes online. And he says if there are any journalists that want to talk to him, they just have to DM him at Mark Bray at Blue Sky. But this is, he says he's received multiple death threats and doxing, including his home address, directly following harassment from a bunch of conservatives that he just names here, saying that he's a financier. So do you think they falsely accused him of that? I don't know. I would presume no. But let's see. Andy No commented here saying, Mark Bray is an American financier of Antifa and an assistant professor at Rutgers University. He calls for mass violent criminality to save him and his co-conspirators in Antifa. Only mass anti-fascism, legal or not, can save us, is a quote from Professor Bray. Bray is an open advocate of the violence that Antifa espouses. So there you go. They're running away. How many more will run away? Will the rest of them follow suit? Will the rest of them say, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to Europe. I don't know. Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on what's going on. Let's go to the phones here. Eduardo, Tampa, Florida, streaming the show out of WLS tonight. Go right ahead, brother.
Good evening, Rich. Well, I got to get into this police dispatch that happened over the weekend in Chicago, and I used to live in this neighborhood. It's called Brighton Park, where you have the chief of patrols. His name is John P. Hine, and his boss, Larry Snellen. He's the superintendent. They report to Mayor Brandon Johnson. This neighborhood has high gang activity, illegals, and they're doing the stand down order. It's pretty ridiculous. And this is going to happen in all the cities. It's going to happen when Madami takes over in New York. It's a shame. And the Department of Justice needs to act on this. They should get this John P. Hine.
Yeah, listen, I don't think you're wrong there. I don't think you're wrong. And I think you're right. If we don't take action, these guys will be out of control. Looks like we need to make a few more professors voluntarily move to Europe. Eduardo, thank you for your call from Tampa, Florida, formerly of Chicago, streaming the show from Chicago. Good for you, brother. WLS in the building. And amigos, I'm going to take a pause right here. I'm going to come back to the rest of your calls. You know the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Yes, sir. I just want to tell you that I love your show. I listen every day. I think you're a true professional. I think you're one of the best.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
For the units responding to 39th and Place in Kedzie, if you guys can start heading there as quick as you can, and then just hold tight for instructions with 999.
999.
999.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Radio check. And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999. Chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
So there you have it. They said per the chief of patrol that they would not be responding. And again, Chicago police, people within the Chicago police are blasting their own department. And the response or lack of a response after officers were told not to help the federal agents in order to CYA. Now, two longtime ranking Chicago police sources sharply rejected the department's assertion that officers responded to calls for help from ICE agents who were rammed and surrounded by protesters on Saturday, telling Fox News the official statement is, in their words, cover their ass bull bleep. Their comments come as Fox News obtained an internal dispatch revealing that Chicago police officers were ordered by their chief of patrol not to respond after Border Patrol agents called for help, saying they were boxed in and surrounded by another car that was following them and ramming them. And again, this is according to multiple federal and Chicago law enforcement sources. Fox News reviewed the computer-aided dispatch message sent to the Chicago police officers by their chief of patrol. The message instructed officers not to respond to the attack which occurred on Saturday morning on the southwest side of the city, in which an armed woman was shot and agents were boxed in and surrounded. Here's, again, a quote from it. It says right here, and you just heard it. I'm just going to read it to you because I have the transcript in front of me. Please, Chief of Patrol, no units will respond to this as related from it gives the date. Caller is one of approximately 30 patrol agents, ICE, who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting CPD. On Saturday morning, federal agents were rammed and trapped by 10 vehicles. Wow, I didn't see it. I only saw the end where it was that one vehicle, where anti-ICE crowds had gathered for days. Nearly a dozen people were arrested. In a statement Sunday, the Chicago Police Department disputed the claims that the officers failed to respond, saying they were on scene to manage safety and document the incident. To clarify misinformation, there's a quote from the police department in Chicago. To clarify, misinformation currently circulating that CPD officers did, in fact, to respond to the shooting scene involving federal authorities on Saturday to maintain public safety and traffic control. Yeah, it didn't say they didn't respond. It said they had to stand by. Right, so clearly they came, clean up the mess. Once everything was done, they didn't go to back them up. They went when it was over and done with, and they filled out a report so they could say they were there. CPD added that federal authorities are leading the investigation into the shooting, but that officers were present to ensure safety. Later that afternoon, police also responded to a separate call involving 2 hit-and-run crashes affecting federal personnel, the department said. So, and it goes on, and, there's a back and forth here. And I'm going to say I hope that this is a larger misunderstanding. But at the end of the day, you just can't leave people out to dry like that. You just can't. That can't be acceptable ever. And it's a shame if that really were the case. And I get it. People are trying to obey the chain of command. That's when you got to be like, hey, man, my radio didn't work. I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that? And you go and you back up the guys that need your help. The video I saw was crazy. I mean, these guys are in a pickup truck. So pickup truck, I don't know, maybe 2 of them, 4 of them in their Max. And this girl is going wild in like a Chevy Suburban, really large SUV, about the same size as the pickup truck, but she's going in. She's hitting them. She's repeatedly ramming them right on their bumper, like trying to push them off the road. It was wild. And, I'm surprised that she lived, honestly, because I think they would have been well within their rights to use lethal force to stop her. Anyway, this is a long article. I'm not going to get into all of it. I just wanted to give you some of the gist of it, and you've probably heard some of that over the weekend. But wild stuff that's going on right now. Very, very wild stuff. Anyway, keep it locked right here. We come back. Don't go anywhere. No? I got more time? Oh, very good. I have more time. I thought I had to take a break. Oh, that's good. So then I can go to my buddy Paul, who's been patiently waiting. Paul, who is calling us from Boise, Idaho. Go right ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, about 4 years ago, the governor, Brown was her name. She's no longer in the office, but she decided that it would be a good idea as an experiment to make all illicit drugs as free as ever. I mean, you could walk around with it, and if you got frisked, they found it, they would let you keep it. It stayed that way for almost 2 years, and the fallout was just tremendous. And this is in Portland, mainly.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, they had license to get wasted all day, and that's all they did. And that's all they do still. A lot of those people that are fighting are Antifa and drug addicts that haven't gotten clean because there wasn't enough beds to get them clean because of the fallout from Governor Brown's decision.
Well, we had a psychiatrist on, Dr. Carol Lieberman, who hopefully will be joining us again this week. But she mentioned that there was an active push early in her career, and it's maintained throughout, of shutting down mental institutions as a way to provide better care for people. And in fact, we've learned quite the opposite. In fact, we're not providing the right level of care. So I think you're onto something. Not only are they, violent, but likely suffering from various mental illnesses. Paul in Boise, Idaho, thank you for the call, brother. Thanks for streaming the show. Shout out to KBFI and every other station that's carrying the show in Idaho. And amigos, hasta la próxima. Take care, good night, and God bless you, America. Some of you will continue with me on, depending on which station you're on. Others, this is the end of the road for you. Either way, I'm Rich Valdes.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the program. We are live and national. If you want to join us, give me a call. We're 7 minutes past the top of the hour right now. Here's the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdes. And so many things I want to get into. Things have gotten more interesting on the culture front, right? With respect to the entertainment at the Super Bowl. This weekend, the artist that many say they've never heard of, but I've heard of for many years, Bad Bunny. He hosted a very popular show called SNL. Now, this is another show that in recent years, I know a lot of my my conservative friends have claimed to stop watching. They claimed to stop watching this 10 years ago. Again, Saturday Night Live has consistently made me laugh, even though overly political, sometimes not funny. I agree. But overall, usually pretty good. I don't watch it every week. I catch it when I do. Usually when there's some hype about who the guest was or what somebody, my friend, I go to the dinner somewhere and they go, "Oh, did you see SNL? Oh, that bit was so funny." That type of thing. Usually the funny speaks for itself. It makes its way to social media and you'll eventually hear about it, just like most other things that are noteworthy. So anyway, Bad Bunny, I watched the entire thing. Why? So that I could be prepared to talk about this today. And again, the entire show was hosted in English. Now, I sent early this morning, I sent a clip of something that Bad Bunny said. And my buddy Betty Johnson, who does an amazing job on social media, he put out a response to this. And he didn't like what Bad Bunny had to say. I want you to hear it, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. Listen to this.
Wow, thank you. No, but really, I'm very excited to be doing the Super Bowl, and I know that people all around the world who love my music are also happy, especialmente todos los latinos. Todos los latinos y las latinas en el mundo entero y aquí en los Estados Unidos, todas las personas que han trabajado para abrir puertas, más que un logro mío, más que un logro mío, es un logro de todos, demostrando que nuestra huella y nuestra aportación en este país nadie nunca la podrá sacar ni borrar. And if you didn't understand what I just said, you have 4 months to learn.
Now, again, that made me laugh then, and it made me laugh again. Now, the reason it makes me laugh is because the entire show he does it English. That last 25 seconds, that's the very end of the show. He says goodnight. He was thanking everybody, and he said a few words in Spanish. And what makes me laugh is he didn't do this to just, pay homage or whatever. He did this to troll the people that are trolling him. And I have to say, it was, dare I say, I may get in trouble for this, but I would say it was almost Trump-level trolling, right? Trump is a master troller. I don't think anybody trolls their critics better than El Trumpito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th president of these United States. And the remarks here, again, he just said, happy to be here. It's my second time, blah, blah, blah. I did this for me and for those who've come before me. And it's kind of what he says all the time. And then, he throws in, and if you didn't understand what I said, you have 4 months to learn, right? A little dig at everybody who's been criticizing him. Because earlier in his opening monologue and remarks, he mentioned that, even he said, everybody's so thrilled to see me, even Fox News. And he had this little mashup of clips that included different hosts over at Fox News. And it cut it specifically to say, we love Bad Bunny. We think he should run for president. And again, that made me laugh too. Why? Because epic level trolling, right? And I give it up where it's due. I've never seen the left or the Democrats be that effective at their trolling, right? They usually just put their shorts in a bunch and that's it. So anyway, it was a little bit of it was weird. It's Saturday Night Live, so it occasionally is weird. Some of the other musical performances were interesting. Doja Cat, she was, I didn't get all of the artistic expression, but either way, I watched it, and I would say 65-70% of it was funny to me. Now, I say this, I bring it up, and I don't let this go because I feel like I thought that I was part of the movement towards liberty, right? The people that say, look, for years you've probably heard me say to the people I call the This Is America Speak English crowd, I've always said, this is America, speak whatever you want, right? Because ultimately, if you want to make money, you have to learn to speak English. It's unlikely that you're going to make money without learning English. But again, not impossible, right? And I learned that as a young man. As a young man, I had a barbershop. I needed to speak English. I spoke English. It's my first language. I didn't learn Spanish until I was older than, like 3 or 4 or whatever. My parents spoke to me in English at home. Why? Because of assimilation and because of things they went through, where they said, we don't want our kids to go through some of the harsh situations they went through. For example, my father's name is Juan. People had a tough time saying Juan back in the 60s and 70s, believe it or not. So he quickly became John and named every one of his children the anglicized version of their name, right? So my brothers, John, well, even sisters, right? Diana was not, it's not Diana, it's Diane. It's John, not Juan. It's Albert, not Alberto. It's Albert, not Alberto. It's Robert, not Roberto. It's Richard, not Ricardo. It's Joe, not Josue or Jose. It's Louis, Louis, the French spelling, not Luis. And all of that, why? Because my father said, oh, this is America. We're going to do it. This is how they do it. And this is how we're going to do it, right? Because my father loved this country. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Would I do that? No, I wouldn't. If I had a son, I'd give him the most Hispanic name I could. I'd probably give him my father's name, Juan Jose, right? Why? Because I don't want to lose tradition. And I would put more of an emphasis on making sure my kids learn Spanish earlier in life, because I don't see any detriment in speaking Spanish. Or, I learned to speak Portuguese as a young man, as a kid. I had a Brazilian Portuguese godmother. And she spoke to us in Portuguese, so I learned that language too. And my point in all that is no detriment at all. I don't think it makes me less valuable or less patriotic. Matter of fact, I think it's made me more apt, more able, right? I'm able to watch news reports from Brazil about Bolsonaro and things like that and understand them and follow them. I can watch Spanish reports about Javier Milei or Maduro. I can watch the old clips of Castro. I don't need any translation. I understand this stuff. So, to me, this is a benefit, not a detriment. But yet, there is such an animus towards people doing something other than what they're used to. And that really, it just boggles me. Now, I understand the initial argument, right? The initial argument is, but it's the Super Bowl, Rich. Come on. It's one of America's big pastimes. How are we going to have this? Well, I did a little research. I found that Gloria Estefan, she's hosted the Super Bowl twice. Shakira and J-Lo twice. And all of them had parts of their performance that were in Spanish. Parts, small parts, like the chorus and whatnot. The other part of this that I was going to say is, I don't think Bad Bunny's looking to destroy his career, right? And I think it would be a bad look if he had a largely negative reaction to his Super Bowl performance. So, even though I think the NFL is looking to expand into Latin America and into Europe, so Spain and Argentina and other places like that, where they're looking to have NFL abroad, and they're streaming the show on the Super Bowl on Telemundo, I still think that Bad Bunny is likely going to team up with somebody that is going to bring Americana to the table. right? Maybe even a mashup. Imagine that, like a country artist and perhaps Metallica, right? Who knows? I don't know what he's got up his sleeve, but I do know I've seen him perform other large events, and he's full of surprises and aims to please, and he's a crowd pleaser for sure. So, again, I'm just putting my thoughts out there because I don't like to always join the chorus of voices. I don't agree with Bad Bunny's position on America. I don't agree with Bad Bunny's previous standing up for trans rights. I don't agree with even the financing of this most recent tour. I believe that some of the communist Venezuelans or former communist Venezuelans that are now impresarios who got into the record business, in my opinion, that's likely communist money, right? Money generated from their days running the communist Venezuela and pillaging it from the people. I don't support any of that. But I'm also not going to sit here and say that I don't support the NFL's right to do whatever they want to do with their show, right? If I don't like it, I'm not going to watch. And if I want to raise my voice against the NFL and say, I think you made a mistake with this, I could do that too. For me, I thought I gave up on the NFL a long time ago. So it's not my position to say you're offending me, you're making a mistake. I don't care. So I guess that's my position. And maybe it's unique or nuanced, but that's the position that I have. But I just want to make sure people aren't jumping on a bandwagon just because we want to be angry because somebody's saying something that's against ICE. There's a lot of people that don't like ICE. And there's a lot of people that in Hollywood and entertainment that are against this administration, that are against the things that I believe. And you can make a choice to not support them if you want. I'm not necessarily supporting them, but I will watch Analyze This. If it's on TV with Robert De Niro, I will watch any one of the Robert De Niro movies. I like De Niro, and he hates Trump, right? And he probably hates me if he even knows who I am. My bottom line is I'm not at the point where I'm going to make a distinction in what I think is funny. If it's funny, it's funny, right? You can make fun of me, and I think it's funny. Now, if you go overboard with making fun of me, then I might take it personal. I might say, you know what? I don't think that's funny. And maybe you'll think it's funny, right? Maybe if somebody makes a caricature of me. But bottom line, let people do what they got to do. The best ideas are going to win each and every time. God bless America. I'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
The NFL just chose the Bad Bunny Rabbit or whatever his name, this guy who hates ICE. He doesn't like you. He accuses everything he doesn't like of racism. Do you think maybe we should just kind of entertain blowing off the NFL like a boycott or something along those lines? This guy does not seem like a unifying entertainer, and a lot of folks don't even know who he is.
I never heard of him. I don't know who he is. I don't know why they're doing it. It's like crazy. And then they blame it on some promoter that they hired to pick up entertainment. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And while we're at it, I'd like them to change the kickoff rule, which looks ridiculous, where the ball is kicked and the ball is floating in the air and everyone's standing there watching it. It's ridiculous. It's not any safer than the regular kickoff. I think it just looks so terrible. I think it really demeans football, to be honest with you. It's a great game, but it demeans football. Do you know what I mean by that? The kickoff rule, the new kickoff rule. It's ridiculous.
That is President Trump, El Trumpito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th president of these United States, Donald J. Trump. And El Presidente was on with Newsmax earlier, our friend Greg Kelly doing that interview, talking about the NFL, weighing in on his thoughts on Bad Bunny, who he says is unknown to him. And, of course, what he was really concerned about was the kickoff rule. I want to get some reaction to that before we get into the shutdown from longtime Trump advisor Bruce LeVell. Sir, welcome.
Hey, Rich, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Happy Monday.
Hey, happy Monday to you, my brother. It's good to hear your voice. It's been a while since I've chatted with you. And you heard the clip of President Trump. This was about less than an hour ago. And I wanted to get your initial thoughts.
Well, he called it sissy, so let's put all that there. In terms of the Bad Bunny, I don't know. It even goes back to when all the kneeling and the boycotting of the national anthem and et cetera. I'm a capitalist, man. I'm a business guy here for 30 years, and when I see silliness, man, I'm just like, you know what? This is an opportunity for more competition. Right. Somebody, please start a new league. It's kind of like the restaurant. You go in there, they don't want to serve you, they don't like you. Go build your own restaurant and put them out of business. So I think, and that gets back to what we went through with social media, with getting canceled, whatever. And you saw what happened. President Trump created Truth Social. So I think I always like to get to the opportunity when they cancel, when they do silliness. I think it's a great opportunity to go open up a business. So I'm always thinking about the opportunity. And I never want anyone to ever forget that, not to get focused on, the craziness, the boycott, and like, oh, well, shoot, I can build something better than this, and we don't even have to go down this road. So that's what I would like to see. Listen, competition is healthy. It really is.
Amen to that. Bruce LeVell, I think you're on the right track because there's a certain billionaire from New York City that lives in the White House now. And back then he didn't like the NFL, and he was about to buy a league. You remember that when he was buying that?
I'm dating myself. I remember it very well.
USFL, right? So I think maybe we'll see a resurgence of that.
Herschel's a good friend of mine. Remember, because Herschel was the big signee. Remember?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
God bless Herschel Walker. So and that's my thinking too. It's like, hey, you know what? If your enemy is shooting themselves in the foot, get out of the way. And like you said, I take this back to the NFL condoning a lot of anti-American rhetoric, I don't know, forever, right? I mean, 10 years ago, it was Beyonce with the Black Panther Party in her, in the presentation. I was going to say music video, but it was the halftime show. And it was against police brutality. And it was, again, they've seemed to have morphed into a social justice or organization for their halftime show, and that definitely predates this current artist. So I'm with you. I think if you don't like it, forget it. Move on. There's other fish to fry around here.
The funny thing, I think we talked about this a long time ago, was I used to have a box in the Atlanta Falcons Stadium. Me and my buddy, it was B64. The private boxes. When a lot of the shenanigans. When the shenanigans started up throughout the league in the last several years, I have friends of friends that cancel their boxes. And, you have to go back and see, this is the other thing too, Rich. You got to look at who's buying tickets.
Right.
That's what you need to look at.
Is somebody buying tickets, right? That's what I said. I said, if this stadium's empty, then we know they made a mistake. If the place is filled to capacity, they're going to do it again. Bruce, stand by. The music means I got to take a pause. We're going to come right back and hear from Speaker Mike Johnson about this shutdown and the effect on small business. In addition to being a longtime advisor to President Trump, Bruce was with the Small Business Administration. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Look at Rich Valdes. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
I say the same things privately that I say publicly. We are consistent, and that's why it's easy for me to stand up here and share the facts. When the simple truth is on your side, you have nothing to hide from. I'm just presenting this to the American people. This is the fourth time we've done that. I hate to drag you all out and go through all the details, but I've got to put on the case over and over because repetition apparently is the key to this. People are starting to recognize this is not a Republican shutdown. It is a Schumer Democrat shutdown. Again, why? because they needed political cover. It's shameless. It is sad. Real people are hurting, and it needs to end. They'll have another opportunity this evening, and I sure pray, and I hope you all will, that a handful of additional common sense people on the Democrat side will change their votes, reopen the government, so we can get back to all these issues as we desperately want to do.
That is House Speaker Mike Johnson a little while ago. Again, the battle goes on to see who's taking the blame for the shutdown. The media is all in with the Democrats, blaming Trump and the Republicans. Meanwhile, they agreed to the clean CR. They proposed the clean CR. They're the majority party. And it was the Democrats that have been holding out, voting against it, and creating an unbelievable wish list of things that are just unreal. I want to get some reaction to that from longtime senior advisor to President Trump and former Small Business Administration advocate for the White House, Bruce LeVell. Welcome back, sir. Your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. I was listening to all the list of various businesses that rely on certain contracts with Air Force bases, Army bases, naval bases, et cetera. And even here, Rich, in Atlanta, the largest airport in the world. And I'm sure you've been to Atlanta, Hartsfield, man. Yeah, I can't tell you the thousands of TSA agents and federal workers and everyone around that particular, I call it a city, because essentially that's what that airport is. It's a city, and how those impact those small businesses. And let me tell you, it's not cheap to rent a spot in those airports. It's a demanding hours, 7 days a week, staffing that and getting employees in there, let alone the rent plus the percentages of your gross income that you have to pay. And, it's a lot of folks on the hook. You look at a Subway or a smaller eatery that's in there or an inline, it's the rent's astronomical. So one week of a hiccup sets a small business owner backwards tremendously. So I was just thinking about that, and just across the board. And really too, we saw what happened in the first term on how the Democrats weaponized everything available to come against President Trump, from the hoax, the collusion, the collusion of the Russian hoax, as well as the impeachments. And then, they're desperate in this term to try to figure out what can we do to weaken President Trump as well as this administration, because they're going to make a play for the midterms, Rich. So this is the only play they have, and they're trying their best to spin it and create the narrative that it is, yes, like you said, the Republicans' fault. But it's not. And so it's so sad because, and listen, every 2 years we have what we call an opportunity to get some of these jokers out of Washington, ladies and gentlemen. So please go vote for those America First people, the folks that are tied to the special interests and the pay to play and the silliness that goes on, and people that just want to be an activist instead of a statesman. Vote for the statesman in office, not the activists like we have with some of these Twitter stars that ran for Congress and Senate. You see where that gets us. So that's the only antidote to get out of this foolishness, Rich.
Yeah, Bruce LeVell, I think you're spot on here. And the impact, you're right. The impact is very big for small businesses. And of course, I'm very flip with this, when giving my commentary about, how I'm all for the government shutdown. Let her rip. But I do realize it impacts people's lives. And and I don't want to see anybody intentionally, harmed by this. I mean, I would like to see the government shrink. That's for sure. But ultimately, it's not a personal thing, right? I'm not trying to wish anybody harm in particular or their family. But we do need to right the wrongs that we've had in our government. And now's as good a time as any, I should say. And ultimately, and I asked somebody this the other day, and they gave me an interesting response about how, it may not look that way, but sometimes it can be that way. But I'm thinking, if this is the Democrats' play, and they're saying, we're going to blame the Republicans and try and throw them under the bus here, why are we doing it in October of 2025, a full 13 months before Election Day? I believe that the electorate will likely forget that this shutdown happened by then. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, one thing, too, that back, with the shutdown, it's another opportunity to look under the hood and look at redundancies. I hate to say it that way, but, what DOJ presented, and, let's go back and look at reevaluate these agencies. And here we go again. And that's the thing that the Democrats really don't understand is that, you know, President Trump is in a very should I say, interesting position because he can go in there agency by agency, and then the agencies that were on the chopping blocks, the directors to the assistant to the assistant to the assistant to the assistant directors. You know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
You know, this is another look under the hood, and here we go again. So, and we did hear the conversation about some of the folks that will leave or resign or unfortunately be put out. So, you know, listen, this is never good, no matter how you look at it. But to your point, you know, we do need to go back and evaluate, you know, a lot of the redundancies like we saw at USAID and many other agencies. So this is definitely going to be another look under the hood.
Oh, for sure. And I can already hear the president saying, well, you know, thanks to the Democrats and the shutting down of the government.
You already know it.
You know, he's going to say, well, you know, thanks to them. They put the microscope on all this. And you know, we have no choice but to take action on this because we have to now issue reduction in force notices. And just, you know, they've deemed these people, they've deemed you non-essential. I think this is going to backfire spectacularly. And, and I don't see the political wisdom in it. I thought I was missing something.
Yeah, you know, the unfortunate part is you take a survey of the actual workers, they don't want to, they'll shut down. They, you know, none of them. So, but you see who the handful who want to shut down for their own political self-interest, whatever. And see, once again, Rich, this is another golden opportunity to once again get some good America First patriots to serve, to step up, to run on these ballots. And let's get some real folks in here that want to serve. We the people, by the people, and not, that's the only way we're going to do it.
Now, Bruce LeVell, before I let you go, I want to get your take on a piece I saw in Fox Business reporting that Moody's is saying that there was essentially no job growth last month. Now, we've seen a bunch of issues coming out of BLS. President Trump nominating Dr. E.J. Antoni to head the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He said, we shouldn't put them out every month if they're not going to be right. We should wait and make sure it's right before we put them out. And now he's withdrawn himself from consideration. So I don't know the current state of affairs, but I do know that, you know, every time there's a report about job growth, there's usually a caveat to it. What are your thoughts here?
Well, you know, a lot of it has to do with restoring the confidence back to the American people. To actually believe in the agency in itself. You know, I mean, come on now. In the last administration, the books were cooked so hard. They were sautéed, they were baked, they were fried, they were braised, they were blackened. Exactly. You know, so you know, it's kind of like, okay, so how do we restore the confidence back to the American people that when we put these, you know, this data out, it is actually accurate. And so it's, you know, it's a big job and getting to be very accurate and being accurate under President Trump's watch, because he's not going to put up with any silliness. So, you know, look, it ain't for the weak.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I've always said serving and being, you know, around President Trump. I'm telling you right now, I know him really well. If you're shaky in the knees, you might want to stay home, man, because this is not this is the real deal, man.
I hear that.
I'll tell you a quick story. Back in 2015, real quick, Rich. We were on the plane. I think we were flying to Ohio. Corey Lewandowski was the campaign manager, and you know we were flying. And you know, I remember one time with Corey. I think he had 102 temperature. He was sick, throwing up. It's like, President Trump, look, if you can't handle this now, you can go ahead and just quit. I'm like, doggone it. I said, if I'm sick, I ain't gonna say a word. I'm just gonna sit there and sweat bullets and just deal with it. Hey, man, I'm telling you, man. So like I said, it's not for the weak.
Yeah, no, listen, I get it. You got to be committed. You know, live radio is not that different. I mean, you've got to be a special kind of sick to not show up to work. If you can get there, you got to get there. It's just how it is. I hear that. Yeah. Now, Bruce LeVell, everybody that's loving the conversation and loves to hear, you know, your updates. How do they find you? How do they follow you? How do they get more from you?
Yeah, well, I'm on X, Bruce_LEVELL, and of course Truth Social, and you know, I do a lot of media hits on Newsmax and Fox and all of them, tons of radio. I love the radio. Radio's so much fun. I do 4 or 5 hits of radio a week, so I do post them on Twitter when I'm on. But I appreciate it. It's always fun to come on too, man. It's fun.
Oh man, we love having you. I always appreciate the insight. Continued success in your business in Georgia and everything that you're doing for the president and all of your advocacy for the White House. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot, and I thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. God bless.
You bet. God bless. And amigos, we continue with your thoughts, your calls, your reactions, and so much more straight ahead.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S. Now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
All right, let's go to the phones to get your reactions from we the people all across the United States. 833-4-VALDES. Let's go to Russell. He's in Washington, D.C., calling us from WMAL. Russell, go right ahead.
Hey, Rich, I listen to you every night, man, every night.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You know what happened? Getting back to this Bad Bunny Super Bowl thing.
Yes.
You know what happened to Bud Light when Bud Light brought in Dylan Mulvaney and wanted to do all the trans stuff. They tried to redefine Americana.
Yep.
And you see what happened to Bud Light. Well, the NFL, that's Americana. To have the problem is the all or nothing approach. That's the problem. To have the entire Super Bowl halftime show done in Spanish, that's the problem. I mean, this is America.
Here's the thing. Let me weigh in on two things. One thing is, I would submit to you that I think a large part of America likes football. However, I think the NFL has checked out on their Americana base a long time ago and has been bringing in very woke acts for, at minimum, the last 10 years, if not more than that. Now, that's just part of it. The other part of it is we have no idea if the act is going to be in Spanish or not. Bad Bunny's done 3 movies this year. I think 2 out of the 3 he was acting in English. And he just hosted Saturday Night Live yesterday or Saturday night. And that was 98% in English, except for the last 30 seconds where he said a few parting words in Spanish. So, and which my opinion is he said those words just to troll his critics, which I thought was a little comical. So I don't know that the whole show will be in Spanish. I would suspect that some of his hits might be, but ultimately I think when you do, just as an example, he just did a concert residency, 31 shows in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and each show was different. He brought in all these different artists from different eras, artists from the 90s, some from the 2000s, some from the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and ended with the English/Spanish singer that used to be married to Jennifer Lopez, a guy named Mark Anthony, who's also an actor, and they closed out the show with a ballad. Wasn't a rap song or a reggaeton song or anything like that. So my point is, I think he as an entertainer understands that you have to put on a good show, and it would not come as a surprise to me if he were to hook up with somebody like this country music star, this guy Zach Bryan, who also has an anti-ICE ballad that he's promoting out there. So I don't know. I have no idea what it'll be, but I would suspect that there's going to be a couple of showstoppers along with him, and they're going to make it a mashup that they hope whoever is going for the halftime show is going to enjoy, if that makes sense.
Can I say something now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Because you had me potted down.
Well, I need to hear me.
You just
go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Every New Year's Eve, there's a broadcast of New Year's Eve in Times Square, right? It's a national broadcast on an American television station.
Yes.
Suppose they did that entire broadcast on American TV in Spanish. There'd be an uproar. Now, I'm sure when they broadcast it on Telemundo or some other Spanish channel, it's in Spanish. But on an American TV station, I don't think they do New Year's Eve in Times Square and do the entire broadcast in Spanish.
Right. Well, I mean, the halftime show is 12 minutes long. So, I mean, even if it were all in Spanish, it wouldn't be the entire Super Bowl that's in Spanish, right? It would be 12 minutes of the entertainment portion of it, where most people are going to get a drink and, get their hot dog and do what they're doing. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think ultimately, I guess we'll really have to wait and see what happens at the Super Bowl to see who ultimately is doing the show entirely in Spanish or not. But I try to think of other artists who might be similar from a different genre, maybe Julio Iglesias or somebody like that. I can only imagine the guy had so many hits in Spanish, but I'm sure if he was doing the Super Bowl, he would do it in English and in Spanish, just because, that plays to both his fans and the fans that are at the Super Bowl. At least those are my thoughts.
Yeah, okay. I hear you, but, it's the all or nothing that's the problem. That's the problem.
I don't think, but this is my point. I don't think the NFL or Bad Bunny have really ever positioned this as all or nothing. I think it's
No, I'm talking about the viewers. They're not going to like that one bit.
Well, we'll find out. Again, my argument here is not that I'm pro Bad Bunny. I'm not necessarily. It's that I just think the NFL's free to do what they want to do, and they're going to do what's going to make them the most money. I would think. And if this is going to be their Bud Light moment, let's see. Bud Light ultimately made a huge comeback, signing a big deal with the UFC and Dana White. So, everybody's got to make their bed. We'll see who gets to lie in it. Russell, I got to run. Thank you for the call, brother. WMAL. And amigos, we're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, let's go to Atlanta, Georgia, WGKA. Steve, go right ahead.
Rich Valdes, I love you, and I only want to see the best. It's amazing that Bohannon found you. Somehow God put you two together. You are literally the most talented, and I've been listening for 15 years to talk radio. You're literally the most talented person that I've ever heard.
Oh,
and that might even include the great.
Well, listen,
this is the one thing that
you.
this boggles my mind. The one thing that boggles my mind is, why aren't you the 9 to 11 spot on now?
Well, I don't know where in Georgia, but I am the 9 to midnight guy in most of America, at least in the East Coast. And then whoever carries it live, I guess it gets earlier and earlier as we go to the West. But thank you, Steve. Always very nice of you. I'm sorry you didn't get to say what you had to say because you were being so nice to me. But thank you. I see we have somebody disagreeing from Brunswick, Ohio. I'm coming to you right now. John in Reno, Nevada as well. Lots of good calls coming up. Folks, don't go anywhere. We will continue straight ahead. Hasta la próxima. I'm Rich Valdes.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome back, another hour of our program. We're live and national. Happy to be here. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Of course, our telephone number, if you want to join us, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. And there's a bunch of things I want to get into tonight. Let me see if I give you a quick rundown. The shutdown continues, and the Democrats trying to smear Trump and the Republicans as if they're to blame when we all know it's really them. And there's some argument over, when this will end. My only, not a prediction, because I'm not Nostradamus, but my thought on this is I don't believe the Democrats are going to allow this to get to the 60th day where Trump can actually cut the size of the federal workforce because of their inaction. I don't think they want to give him any more power than they've already given him, and that power kicks in on the 60th day. So all I could say is if I were Trump, tough as it might be, I would order a couple of pies of pizza, put my feet up on that Resolute desk, and say, all right, guys, I'm here to make a deal when you are. And, of course, the deal has to be made in Congress, but you get the point, right? Optics are important. Now, let's see what else we got. Illinois is suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the National Guard. Meanwhile, you've got the cops in Illinois under fire for not supporting their federal counterparts. And this has got to be the most egregious thing, right? I mean, really, just not cool. I want you to listen to a cut I've gotten, cut number 32, where you can hear the 9/11 audio, the police dispatcher audio, as well as, some commentary from Mike Tobin on Fox News. Check this out.
Chicago police officer behind the scenes telling us that they are outraged that the stand-down order went out to them after federal agents were attacked. The order appears to have come through a communication from the chief of patrol over the communication through the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading, "No units will respond to this." Multiple police sources have confirmed to us the message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
And again, per the Chief of Patrol, we have all the units that, per 999, Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Place in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given. In an official statement, CPD says officers did respond. Writing, quote, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain safety and traffic control. Now, chaos was triggered when, according to federal prosecutors, two individuals used their cars to ram the cars of Border Patrol agents. One of the agents shot a driver of one attacking vehicle. Those attackers are now charged federally.
So this is, clearly, right? This is life and death. You call for backup because federal agents are under attack by a mob of thugs called Antifa. And they start playing games with, we didn't go. We did respond for the report. Now, listen, I know that they've made their intentions clear, very clear, right? We don't, and by they, I mean the politicians, Pritzker and Mayor Johnson. Got it. You don't like Trump. You're creating an ICE-free zone, blah, 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 blah. None of it's legal, but I've seen mayors give bad direction to police in the past. And you know what happens? When the mayor comes around, the police turn their backs as a sign of disrespect to let them know we're not with your political BS. And I know plenty of off-duty cops who, if they were around, would lend a helping hand to an on-duty cop. I know that there are territorial and jurisdictional issues and a chain of command. But I would hate to think that we're going to let federal cops, or, your brothers in blue, you're going to hang them out to dry just because of some political, stand down order. Maybe I'm too generous. Maybe I'm naive here. If you want to weigh in on this, feel free. But I don't think this is right in any way. And I'm sure people arguing against me are going to say, look, we have to follow the rules. We were told by the chief of patrol to stand down. That's what we did. We followed our orders. I get that. I do. I do get it. I don't accept it, but I do get it. I think that's wrong. And at some point, we have to know right from wrong. And if the chain of command is wrong, what are you going to do? Right? I mean, if you want to say tomorrow, Rich Valdes tells Chicago cops to disobey orders, I guess I did. And whatever consequence I'll have to pay for my free speech in that regard, I'll pay. But you shouldn't turn your back on a fellow officer, a federal officer that's there doing the work that you haven't been permitted to do. That's just wrong. I think it flies in the face of the oath that you took as an officer, which is the oath to the Constitution of the United States. Anyway, ugly situations we are embarking on. We make sure you, if you haven't checked out the conversation with Gabriel Nadales, former Antifa member who was able to get out of the now terrorist organization, you don't want to miss that conversation with Gabriel Nadales. And any conversation that you'd like to check out that we've had on this program, make sure you check it out at richvaldes.com. You can share those links. You could listen right from the website. You can also subscribe to the podcast absolutely free. So please do that. And some of you who are leaving 5-star reviews, thank you for that. Those go a long way. We've consistently been in the top 100 podcasts in the categories that we rank in. So thank you for that. And anyway, I wanted to talk about a couple other things. I mean, again, as far as I could see, it's still kind of wishy-washy, but as far as I can see, I think we still have a peace deal in Gaza, unless I'm speaking too soon. If anybody in the control room sees something other than what I'm seeing, let me know. But otherwise, the Democrats have continued to keep the government closed. The Schumer shutdown continues. Anyway, speaking of violence, there's a few things I wanted to talk about here. And I hate these ugly stories, but one of them is this guy, Jay Jones. I think I called him Jay Johnson earlier. Forgive me if I did. The police union in Virginia is now calling on Jay Jones to quit after more claims of violent rhetoric coming from him. This is the Democrat candidate for Attorney General in Virginia who put out a text a while back saying that one of his colleagues in the Virginia House, should be shot along with Pol Pot like a dictator. And then going on saying, we should probably put 2 bullets in him. The person he's texting with says, you're not saying we should kill this guy and his family, because he went on to say, his kids and whatever, mentioning them. And, I mean, that's bizarre, right? To just ask yourself this. I don't care what side of the aisle you think you're on. When was the last time you sent a text message to somebody saying that they should be shot and, like somebody you don't like? And I'm not talking about Trump, right? Because that's like sport for everybody on the left. But this guy was talking about one of his colleagues in the Virginia House and the guy's wife and kids. Who talks like that? The guy happened to be a Republican, by the way. Anyway, Jay Jones, Virginia's embattled Democrat candidate for AG, also once now it's being alleged that he suggested that if more police officers were killed, they would shoot fewer people. And this is, again, from a former colleague in the state legislature, Republican Delegate Carrie Coyner. She told the Virginia Scope earlier today that during a 2020 conversation about qualified immunity, she told Jones that without the legal protection that police officers get, they would likely be killed. And his quote was, well, maybe if a few of them died, they would move on instead of and not shoot people, not killing people. Right? So it's clear there's a trend here. This guy absolutely believes that people would buy into his politics if they are allowed to be harmed or their family members are allowed to be harmed physically. That's the type of quote-unquote politics this guy is preaching. Well, God bless the boys in blue, the Fraternal Order of Police in Virginia, FOP Virginia, put out a statement saying the Virginia Fraternal Order of Police is aware of the recent text message scandal involving you, the Democrat candidate for Attorney General. This is addressed to Jay Jones. And while this incident may have occurred in 2022, this conduct has no place in our society or democracy, especially from an elected official who is running to be the top prosecutor in Virginia. That's the state's chief law enforcement officer. And the men and women of the Virginia Fraternal Order of Police unequivocally condemn these violent text messages sent to you about a political opponent and his family. We support everybody's right to respectful and peaceful discussions with a political figure. However, calling for any type of violence is unacceptable. Yeah, and it goes on, but they're 100% right. And they said, Jay Jones, you are unfit for the office of Attorney General of Virginia. It's time you hold yourself accountable for these actions and withdraw from the Attorney General race immediately. I would agree with that. Just ask yourself, if you said this type of stuff, wouldn't you be kicked out of your job? And if you were running for office, don't you think that somebody would tell you to step aside? Of course they would. This type of thing is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Oh, man, let me tell you. We're in bad shape. And then meanwhile, we've got our shorts in a twist over a Puerto Rican rapper at the Super Bowl. Well, we've got this type of thing going on. I think we're losing our way, folks. Anyway, keep it locked right here. We're going to continue our conversation straight ahead, your calls and more. Plus, Dr. Gilda Carle is scheduled to join us to talk about why real men don't go woke. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
I want to listen to you, Rich, all the time.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Do you think men are being taught to be weak right now?
Yes, definitely. They're being enticed toward that in every way.
Tell me more.
And punished for not doing it. Well, the insistence, for example, that masculinity itself is toxic to its core, a manifestation of patriarchal oppression, that male ambition is nothing but a manifestation of the force of tyrannical power that not only oppresses the oppressed, but rapes the world. Jesus, the desire of a 4-year-old boy to play with guns, for example. Well, we have to rub that out. It's like, oh, well, do you? You're going to rub out your son's ability to point and shoot, are you? That's what it'll do his whole life. You're going to go to war with that in your feminine virtue. Toxic masculinity. And so the best you can do if you're a man is to castrate yourself.
That is Professor Jordan Peterson chiming in on the culture war as it pertains to, as he calls it, toxic masculinity. And we've talked about this before, but I feel like you can't talk about it enough because it's constantly making its way through real life, right? Even if it's not in the media per se, it's a part of the culture. You turn on a TV show and the dad is usually the most ridiculed. There's always some sort of narrative around men being men, or at least, people my age, right? I'm 47. My dad was a pretty tough guy. I feel like that is a thing of the past, and by design, it's a thing of the past. They don't want men to be men anymore, and sadly, it's not just affecting men, it's affecting women. There are women that now expect men to be like them, and it creates a lot of emotional instability, if you will. I want to get into this with one of my favorites here. Dr. Gilda Carle is joining us. She is the spokesperson for the International Council for Men and Boys, and she's the author of the book, Real Men Don't Go Woke, the book they would not publish, the truth that must be told. Dr. Gilda Carle, welcome back.
What a pleasure to talk to you again.
And it was great listening to Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, he said it right,
He
right?
was,
You're basically castrating yourself.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. He's absolutely right. Except that men don't have to castrate themselves; they're already castrated by the mean women that they're suddenly meeting all over the place. So this is not a happy time for a lot of men.
Well, let's dig into this because it's interesting. Every day you just see more and more of this going on, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me faulting people. But I mean, I'm just, for example, I'm looking at this piece in Time magazine, and I support everybody's right to have a political opinion, even if it doesn't match mine. Have one. I think that's a good thing. But Zach Bryan, he's become one of the bigger stars in country music, and lately he's being called into question because he's been talking about politics a little bit, right? He's historically been apolitical, but now he's a little bit of wokeness being added to the mix, kind of going against the enforcement of customs and immigration enforcement and whatnot. And it makes me think, not that he's a girly man, but that there's this softer side that is really building. And historically for me, Dr. Gilda, I feel men look at things pretty logically, and they kind of throw emotion out the window, whereas women are oftentimes the more emotional of the thinkers. But every now and again, you run into a guy who's hyper emotional, and it's almost impossible to debate or have a good discussion with them because they're so wrapped up in their emotions.
And that's what a lot of men say about women. She gets hysterical every time, and their response usually is, are you having your period right now? So nobody can understand the other. Well, these days, we don't know who's a what, because men are unwilling, lots of men are unwilling now to declare their masculinity. One man had read my book, and he had said that he doesn't want to be male anymore. He knows he's male, but he wants to be everything. And he wants to satisfy everybody because he can't stand any more of that toxic language. And so he's chosen to be non-binary. Well, that's lovely. What are you? Who are you?
Right. And what's the benefit of it?
I wished he had left me his telephone number and his true information. He was anonymous, so I couldn't get back to him. Because I worry about this. The rate of suicide is much too great, and it is climbing among our men.
Well, Dr. Gilda, hold that thought. The music means we got to take a pause, but we're coming right back. And amigos, we are going to continue this conversation on masculinity with Dr. Gilda Carle. You've seen her on television, on MTV, just you name it, she's been there. Spokesperson for the International Council of Men and Boys and author of Real Men Don't Go Woke. Keep it locked right here. It's Rich Valdes coming right back with Dr. Gilda Carle.
Thanks for what you do. You have so many people. You ask the questions that if the viewer had a microphone, they would ask that question, and you seem to always ask it right at the right time. So God bless you, my friend.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
You have Trump here talking to 10,000 Navy guys, and then you have Kamala whining that she didn't get blown out. What kind of contrast was that this weekend?
What a difference the presidency makes, Jesse, right? I mean, we are now totally over that destructive, stupid era of toxic masculinity, and now we're in an era of real masculinity, thanks to the bold, muscular leadership of President Trump and our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. We saw that in bold relief yesterday. What an incredible day.
You have Trump here.
Yeah, and let me tell you, that's Her Excellency Ambassador Monica Crowley on the Fox News Channel commenting on last week's meeting of the minds with the Pentagon generals. And I have to say, I agree with her. I think we went through this very, very hyper-emotional time, and it's time now to stop with the toxic masculinity and move on to letting men be men. Dr. Gilda Carle is our guest. She is the spokesperson for the International Council for Men and Boys and the author of the book, Real Men Don't Go Woke, the book they would not publish, the truth that must be told. Dr. Gilda, what do you think of Ambassador Crowley's comments that we've gone away from toxic masculinity in the United States Armed Services?
I know Monica well. We were on Fox News together, and I love her. If only she were correct that we have gotten rid of toxic masculinity. We have not, because the far radical left insists on pushing for male wokeness. No matter what, they are crawling into every part of our lives, pushing back every time we see Pete on air, every time we see Donald Trump on air. These men are real men. Men, as I describe in my book, Real Men Don't Go Woke. These are the real men. And this scares the hell out of the radical left. And they're trying their darndest to push back on all of these men.
You know, Dr. Gilda Carle, you would think this is an unlikely place to see this headline, but I'm looking at a headline in Oprah Daily. Here it is. Why we need to stop saying toxic masculinity. How one well-intentioned phrase pushed men away from the movement meant to help them too. And, you know, I haven't read the entire article. I just saw this and I thought it's so funny that the reason they're saying not to use this term is because it didn't go far enough.
Oh, well, I agree with you. It's shocking to hear that that's in an Oprah magazine.
Yeah.
That's first of all. Second of all, it didn't go far enough. The rate of suicides, of men committing suicide 4 times the rate of women, the lessening of the thinning of the Y chromosome, the decrease of males' testosterone, the depression, the loneliness, and all the things that I have written about and I am speaking out about. These are steadily getting worse. That's why I hope you'll come to it on November 5th, the press conference that we're having for lawmakers down in D.C. in your neighborhood. We must understand that we are in a crisis and men are an endangered species. When are people going to realize this? It's not only the single women who are complaining. Matter of fact, I went to a fundraiser recently. I'm in Arizona, and Andy Biggs, who was running for governor this time around, and he was talking about his 25-year-old daughter who said she can't find that guy. And then at the same fundraiser, I was speaking to women in their 50s who were complaining they can't find a guy. These wussy, voiceless, spineless men who are parading as, quote, men, just don't cut it. Not with real women. And it's gotten to the point, because I am on all the social media, and I see how men have said, I've had enough. I've given up. I lost my kids in a divorce. I have no money to have a second family or to start a new relationship. I can't go out. I am strapped. And all the other reasons that people are lagging, men are lagging behind women in areas of education, the false allegations, the partner abuse, the homelessness. We could go on and on. There are 12 different categories for this. And what are we doing? Nothing. We're at least, thanks to Jordan Peterson, thanks to people who are also speaking out, and some of them are going to be at this conference that we're giving. And we are talking about the truth. The statistics, they do not lie. Men cannot take it anymore. They're internalizing this. And the men who are saying, no more, I've had enough, I am not even dating, that is not the way to go. And I know because they are saying this to me. And so I just wrote an op-ed, and it's gotten amazing reviews, talking about men having to be more selective when they are choosing women and stay away from what I call the mean girls and get to a real woman. One guy complained, but it takes so long because you have to get to know somebody. Yes, indeed. But that's the case with any relationship. These Hollywood make-believe relationships do not work in real life.
Dr. Gilda Carle, I'm with you on that. I think I'm that guy. I'm almost that guy, right? I was divorced. It took me forever to kind of get back on my feet. It messed me up financially. I've been down that road. Thankfully, I was able to bounce back. However, there are some people that even younger, right, who have not had the benefit of being married and having children and doing all of that, that are taking rejection so badly because, in my opinion, they are becoming more effeminate, if you will. They don't see the value in themselves. And I look at a case just a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago in New Jersey. 17-year-old boy ran over 2 girls because the initial story was that she had rejected him. So the secondary story was that he didn't agree with her politics. But either way, it's insane to me. The girl's dead, and he ran them over driving 70 miles an hour. This is, beyond.
He targeted them.
Beyond comprehensible.
You know, this is what I am so frightened about. In our world today, the gaming has become so popular. And who sits at home and does the gaming? Mostly young men. What happens? They take a gun, make believe, on the gaming console. They take a gun and they shoot. Bang, bang, bang. These are make-believe situations. But they have been so numbed by humanity. This isn't humanity anymore. And so if they pick up a gun and they kill, well, it's just like the gaming. This is how far removed we have become from reality.
This is a horrible thing. And listen, I don't know if this guy was a gamer or not, but I do know he did what he did. And
he was. Oh yeah. The other one who killed Charlie Kirk was on constantly on the computer. And it's funny. My neighbor who had read Real Men Don't Go Woke said to me, "How did you know? You talked about the furries before anybody ever heard about this." I said, "Yep, that's another way that young men are dropping out. Whether they become gay, bisexual, transsexual, who knows what kind of sexual there is that we haven't even thought of yet. But whatever they become, it's lack of intimacy with a woman. They don't feel capable of measuring up.
This is
what we have created.
Right? Involuntarily celibate?
Yeah. And many men are telling me that is exactly what they have gone to. And I am saying, no, you don't throw the baby.
Soft, or they've society's made them soft, or am I allowed to say that these guys are being soft? Because I've been dissed by girls before, and it hurts, but I don't go killing anybody.
Well, isn't that peculiar? How about that? Yes, if you don't get what you want, you're not getting a trophy. So, okay. I maybe the next step is to kill somebody because this is your temper tantrum, because the parenting has been lax, because the schools have been lax. Young boys, this is one of the 12 areas where men are lagging behind women. Men in education, they're falling so far behind. Even in my MBA courses, I am teaching these courses, and there are more women than men. This was never the case. A lot of men don't want to go to school anymore. They don't want to go to college anymore, and you can't blame them. What do they get after a college education? Do they get employment? Guaranteed. If they go off to become a welder, they will gain employment.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Dr. Gilda Carle, I hate to cut you off, but I want to make sure you have a chance to tell everybody about your book and where they can get it. So let everybody know how to follow you and where they get a copy of the book.
Oh, well, it's on Amazon. It's all over the place. Barnes & Noble, I just saw that has it also. Come to my website, drgilda.com, drgilda.com. You will see lots of information about the book and testimonials from real live men who have had it. And we've got to change the narrative for them.
Dr. Gilda Carle, God bless you. Follow her at Dr. Gilda online. I can't wait till our next conversation. Godspeed to you. Thank you for the invitation. If I can make it there, I will. Well, that's Election Day in New York City, so it's a little iffy.
Well, let's see what you can do. I'm going to send you the invitation.
Thank you.
And let's see if you can make it. Did you get the book that I had sent you?
Yes, I did receive that. Thank you for that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm looking forward to the invitation. Thank you as well. Dr. Gilda Carle, everybody. Go ahead.
We'll feed you. We'll take care of you.
I love being fed. We'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S. America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, amigos, to the phones we go. Let's go to Johnny calling us from Brunswick, Ohio, WNIR. John, go right ahead, sir.
Hi. Well, so far you and I have not found much common ground on this issue, only a tiny bit. And I want to begin by saying, without the slightest hesitation, as an independent, I also condemn those text messages sent by, I believe his name is Jay Jones.
Yes.
And I don't care what party he is. I don't care what position he is. If you are on record calling for political violence up to and including murder, you should be disqualified. There's no law to make him disqualified, but as a matter of honor, I think he should resign or quit the race. I don't think he's going to. He doesn't have to, but he should.
Right. I agree. Look, we found common ground.
And, yeah, that might be the only common ground we find. I want to continue to say that there is a range of implied and outright endorsement of political violence, which ranges from accidental. I would put Obama and Palin in that category, to more direct, and then up to and including calling for actual murder. And once again, this happens on both sides. I believe it's probably in the neighborhood of 60-40, give or take. It's not 90-10, but even if it were 90-10, I would still treat this as a nonpartisan issue because it happens on both sides. There have been politicians and political figures, right and left-leaning, to do all of the above, which range from accidental and implied endorsement of political violence.
What are some of the examples you have for the right? And I'm not saying that the left has the exclusive, but they definitely, in my opinion, have the majority.
Well, one of the worst, I would say, would be Stuart Rhodes. He sent messages telling his supporters to prepare for a civil war to prevent Joe Biden from taking office. He said that he wished they would have brought rifles and that he would hang Pelosi from the lamppost. There was to hang Mike Pence at that. There was Ted Nugent saying that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton should be shot and hung. There's your two affiliates from.
Well, hold on. Before we go to the affiliates, let's just stop with those, because I think the first one, the Stuart Rhodes, I wouldn't consider him part of the right. I would say he's part of the FBI, if you will. I think he's an FBI informant, right, that cut a deal with them after he got into some sort of trouble. But I'll take it. I'll take that one on the chin. I just don't think it's genuine. I think he was in place to be a rabble rouser, and did that. This is not somebody that really espouses what I think the majority of the MAGA movement espouses. But But yeah, he's definitely fringe, and you can't say he's a leftist, so I'll take that one. But when it comes to Ted Nugent, I think, was calling for not the like violent take to the streets assassination. He was saying that the things that they've done, in his estimation, are treasonous, and that is the penalty for treason. So it wasn't calling for violence as much as it was calling for justice.
Call for a trial. Rudy Giuliani, trial by combat. Mo Brooks, take down names and kick ass.
Right. Well, again, I'll go back to Giuliani. I've interviewed Giuliani. We have the audio of it. This trial by combat terminology, it's a legal term. It doesn't mean to actually fight. It means to test the veracity of your legal term.
Morning.
I'm sorry?
But there was trial by combat on that morning following that event.
No, well, what you had was a bunch of people that were there for the FBI that we now know 272 of them were there doing whatever they did, inciting this type of violence. So it's a little disingenuous. It's a real stretch to say that this is happening on both sides, as much as it is the outright stuff that you're seeing in this case. But I do see that you are committed to being an equal opportunity criticizer or critic, I should say, of this. And I agree with you on that point that, yeah, nobody should be calling for that. It's egregious no matter how you do it. I just don't think we should become contortionists and try and bend ourselves into a pretzel to make it look like it's happening on both sides when there's really quite a monopoly, a majority of this coming from one side. And that's really all I'm saying. John in Brunswick, Ohio, WNIR. Thank you, sir. I've got to pause here. But, folks, the rest of your calls and more, don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, amigos, welcome back. And by the way, I just want to say I misspoke with the last caller. It wasn't Stuart Rhodes I was thinking of. It was Ray Epps who was calling for violence. Stuart Rhodes, a different guy who was actually pardoned. So forgive me for that. But anyway, I want to continue here. I want to go to, hold on, work with me. Reno, Nevada, streaming the show tonight. John, go right ahead.
Hey, Rich, good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
In light of the Trump peace process in Gaza, I want to congratulate him. Hopefully, he'll get the hostages released. But what America needs to realize is our media has done a poor job of covering the West Bank, unlike the African, European, and Asian media. The average American doesn't really know what's going on in the West Bank, and there's not going to be peace in the Holy Land or the world regarding Jews and Muslims until the West Bank is straightened out.
Listen, it's funny. Every time we hear about a two-state solution, my thought is usually that it's got to be a three-state solution because of the Palestinian Authority that's in the West Bank. They have their own unique set of drama. But it seems to me that that's a different fight for a different day, and they're not at war. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail. But interesting point, and I hear what you're saying. John and Reno, thank you for the call. Shout out to Michael in Joplin, KZRG, Joe in Salem, Arkansas, KSAR, Tony in Montreal, WVMD. Hasta la próxima. Take care, and God bless you, America.